We got Captain America, Brave New World trailer.
Captain America. You ever ask yourself who's playing who?
Hey, welcome back to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed in the second trailer for Captain America Brave New World. There are so many cool details in this trailer that connect to the rest of the MCU, and we're really starting to see the plot of this movie take shape. I cannot wait
I
to
like
get into
it.
this
I didn't
and
even
tell
see
you
the
guys about how
trailer.
I
I just saw the Red Hulk, and that's what I'm excited
before we break
about.
the trailer down, I just want to show you this really cool Ross 24 for President shirt available at our merch store. We have lots of other cool merch and a special announcement about our upcoming live show that I'm going to talk about a little later in the video. So the trailer starts with Isaiah Bradley in prison. And who is that, please? Well, look, I'm sure most of you have seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but just in case you haven't, I'm going to give you a very brief TLDR on Isaiah Bradley's backstory.
Falcon.
In the comic books, Isaiah Bradley was one of the original people the military used as an experiment subject for the super soldier serum. Basically, the US military performed experiments on black soldiers against their will. This is all in the comic book Truth, Red, White, and Black, and it is an amazing comic book.
We should get one where he's like younger.
In the MCU, Isaiah Bradley was given a modified super soldier serum in the 1950s after Captain America went into the ice. After a mission where he encountered the Winter Soldier, the government locked Bradley up in prison for years. Now, Sam met him in the show Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where Isaiah told him,
"They will never let a black man be Captain America."
So, after Sam did become Captain America, the two became friends, in a really touching scene where Isaiah's contributions are recognized in the Smithsonian. But now we see him in prison, just like in the comic books where he was locked up. Later on in this trailer, we see him brainwashed and trying to assassinate the president. So, this is very similar to a classic film called The Manchurian Candidate, where an assassin was brainwashed to assassinate a politician. More to it than that,
like they did with Bucky.
This movie is very much taking its cues from 70s and 90s political thrillers, such as 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men, and of course the 90s Jack Ryan films that starred Harrison Ford. In line with this political thriller model, notice how different the Marvel Studios logo is. It's not only stripped down to black and white, but notice the gray edges of the letters, almost as if this intro has been photocopied and is on very grainy film, once again calling back to the aesthetic of 1970s thrillers. After Sam asks what Isaiah remembers, we see what triggered him. The flashes of the photographers are intercut with flashes of lights in an underground lab. So this appears to be the same lab that Sam, Falcon, and Saber raid later on, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Essentially, what I think is happening here is that the leader is manipulating events to destabilize the world government.
The leader? We're not allowed to talk about the leader.
No, not the leader of the store. The leader, the Marvel character. In fact, he's the character I'm most excited to see in this film. So, in the comics, the leader was an ordinary man named Samuel Stearns who was exposed to gamma radiation. But unlike Bruce Banner, who was a smart guy who became a strong, simple-minded brute, Samuel Stearns became a gamma-powered mega-genius called the leader. Now, we met Samuel Stearns in The Incredible Hulk, and we got a tease that he would mutate into this villain, and now we're finally going to see that pay off. I should also point out that brainwashing with lights is something that Hydra did in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The device they used was called a Faustus machine, named after Dr. Faustus, who we met in the show Agent Carter. And man, am I hungry.
Person, what are you doing?
Buddy, I am having
Hey, what
so
the
you're just
hell?
dipping your paw in the country peanut butter like so much Winnie the Pooh.
I sure am.
Plus, that was my country peanut butter.
Yeah, I feel kind of pathetic right now. You're right. Next time, though, I'll pick a better option, like this delicious, nutritious meal from Factor. They're the sponsor of this video. This is a black pepper and sage pork chop with smoked cheddar Brussels sprouts and creamy broccoli. Guys, Factor meals are chef-crafted and dietitian approved. They're served always fresh, never frozen, and they're ready in just 2 minutes. Plus, it's only 550 calories per serving, and oh, it's delicious. So I've been using Factor for about 2 years now, and I cannot believe how much it has improved my daily life. On super busy days like today, I can't find the time to make healthy food, so I always end up snacking and stress eating and dipping my hand into jars of peanut butter just for the protein. This always makes me gain extra
Come on,
energy
buddy.
throughout the entire day. And I feel like I should eating healthy. 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. Factor your old breakfast smoothie also and a from 4 Factor plus free
Damn long ass ad.
50% is much longer when he's in prison, hinting that the events of this film actually take place over a series of weeks or months as tensions escalate toward nuclear war. Then we see shots of the Oval Office with portraits of James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and John Tyler. Now, these are all here because they're like 19th century presidents and thus mostly non-controversial. Although, John Tyler did annex Texas from Mexico.
That's
he was
crazy,
also the first
bro.
vice president to take over the presidency after a president died. So, with this movie setting up like a new world war and a questionable line of succession after the president turns into the Hulk,
Bro, that
I'm
shit
wondering
looks
if John
so
Tyler
good,
is
bro.
here
That
to
Red
hint
Hulk.
of the destability to come
I'm excited
in America
as fuck
in the
for that.
MCU. When Isaiah is arrested outside, it's very similar to how the previous Captain America, Steve Rogers, was arrested in Captain America Civil War. So when Sam visits him in prison, he calls him
Cap.
And I like that little acknowledgement that Isaiah recognizes Sam as Captain America. It shows how far the two of them have come. Now, all through the trailer, we see these split screens, which were a very common device used by
break 'em
filmmakers
out of
in the
jail or what?
1970s. Most famously, of course, by the great Brian De Palma in films like Phantom of Paradise and Carrie. I should also note that the
hurts, bro.
2003 Hulk film by Ang Lee featured these innovative split screens to mimic comic panels. Now, this was all created by the film's editor, Tim Squires, who also made some very cool choices for transitions, like this one.
Lock down the entire facility immediately.
So that Hulk aesthetic is very similar to the split screen in the Situation Room, where these people blink out of frame to show the passage of time, just like we might see in panels of a comic book. But I'm also wondering if this use of split screens is there to like suit the movie's theme.
What theme is that?
Well, the theme of duality. So for instance, there's a dividing line between Ross and the Red Hulk. But like as in any conspiracy thriller, there are things that we know and then things that we don't know. Several times in this trailer, we see secret labs juxtaposed with public places and events. And then we see Shira Haas's character, who is playing an Israeli secret agent named Sabra. Now in the comics, Sabra is the first Israeli superhero in Marvel Comics. But rumor has it the movie has toned down her nationality because of the ongoing conflict in Gaza. Ross says,
I was a wartime general.
What war? Captain America Civil War? Avengers Infinity War?
actually, he wasn't a general during those wars. So here, I think he's talking about Iraq and Afghanistan. He's standing at a gravesite, which is where we see a state funeral later in the trailer. So I'm going to throw out a wild guess here and say that this is his vice president. If the leader's intention is to destabilize the United States, well, then you could eliminate the vice president and then turn the president into a rampaging rage monster.
Yeah, that sure would destabilize the USA, but good.
And then we get glimpses of this new war that Ross is talking about. So, you guys remember, this is Tiamat the Celestial. So
Gonna
in
be
the
a
movie
whole
Eternals,
war,
we
bro.
find out that Earth is actually an incubator for a giant cosmic god called a Celestial.
They
That
gonna make 'em
Celestial
come
baby
out.
named Tiamat is about to hatch, but then Circe turned the Celestial into some kind of new mineral. Now, the rumor has been that this mineral is actually the MCU's version of adamantium, the same metal, of course, that laces Wolverine's skeleton. So, of course, every country in the world would want to claim this giant natural resource.
I'll be
as the world's
surprised
most
if they
powerful
haven't been
metal.
working on it
However,
yet.
because the statue is in the middle of the ocean, different world governments are able to lay claim to it. So it looks like this situation is going to erupt into war in this movie. Samuel Stearns is
they
going to
all
be the one
want
to
it.
pick up the pieces and reorganize the world into
Some kind of brave new world?
exactly. Stearns even hinted that he wanted to remake the world using gamma technology even before he mutated.
Gamma technology has limitless applications. We'll unlock hundreds of cures. We will make humans impervious to disease.
Now, I love all these shots from the command center of submarines. It really calls back to the 90s military movies like those Jack Ryan films that I mentioned earlier. But also it calls back to the extremely underrated film Crimson Tide.
Now, everybody that reads comic books knows that Kirby's Silver Surfer is the only true Silver Surfer. Now, am I right or wrong?
So then we get small tidbits of the plot. Sam says,
Your inner circle's been compromised.
just as he appears to be entering a panic room. So what we're seeing here is that the leader has managed to infiltrate the Oval Office, probably by brainwashing people who are in the president's inner circle with the same technique.
who
that
the
he
fuck
used
is the
when Isaiah
leader?
grabbed
The
him.
Red
And one of
Hulk
these
or
people
what?
who was close to Ross
That other
probably
guy?
injected him with modified gamma blood to turn him into the Red Hulk.
So wait, where did Leader get the gamma blood at?
Well, remember, in The Incredible Hulk, Samuel Stearns had already replicated like tons of Bruce's blood.
It sent me much to work with, so I had to concentrate it and make more.
However, he does say that none of his test subjects survived. And remember, he was only able to create the abomination by using Bruce's original pure gamma irradiated blood. Remember, his blood has now become infected with gamma radiation. So he could be replicating his own blood to infect Ross, to sow chaos. And then we have some incredible action shots. We see Sam sending out
That shit
two
looks
drones.
like it's
Now,
gonna be
this
good
is
as
the same
fuck,
fight that we saw in
bro.
previous trailers where he fights Red Hulk and Sidewinder. More on Sidewinder in a second. So here we see these two drones. Now, you'll remember that originally one of his drones was called Red Wing, you know, in Captain America Civil War.
I'm not thinking that thing.
His name is Red Wing.
I'm still not thinking it.
And Red Wing, of course, was based on Falcon's actual literal Falcon that Sam Wilson had a telepathic link with in the comics. Now, if you guys have any
should have
guesses
got a
about
real
what you would have
Falcon
named
too.
these new drones, let me know down in the comments. And I want to remind you guys that in just a
Falcon
few
Jr.
days, we are going on tour. Me and Colton are going to be in Boston, Massachusetts for a live show where we're going to argue about Star Wars and Marvel and nerd out, do some trivia. Really, we just want to meet you guys face to face. We're coming to 11 cities, Boston on
That
Thursday.
should
The
probably
full
be
list and
fun,
links
I
to
ain't
my
gonna
tickets
lie.
are below. I'm
Atlanta.
really excited to meet you face to face. And
Shit,
also,
they
we only
coming
have
here.
a few more days left on our Agatha merch before it is gone forever. So you'll have a limited time to get your witch shirt, get in losers, we're walking the witch's road, Beast Tarot, along with many other fun Marvel parody merch that we designed for you guys. Links to those and the Ross 24 shirt are below. And then we get these incredible shots of Sam flying at supersonic speed. Now notice
Bro,
how
that
his
shit
new
looks
suit
good
has a
as
helmet,
hell.
which makes total sense because otherwise his skin would be peeling back from his face at supersonic speed. And look at the shot where he's landing. They frame it to look like a smart bomb camera, like this famous shot of a missile hitting its target in the first Gulf War. And then he does a quasi-superhero landing, and I personally think this is early in the film. Notice he's still wearing his white suit from the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier that he seems to replace later in the movie. And then we get our first glimpse of the new Falcon, Joaquin Torres, who we did meet in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I forgot all
He
about
also
him.
took over the Falcon mantle when Sam moved up to become Captain America. So I love this split screen of Sam and Ross, showing them on different sides. In the first trailer, Ross tries to recruit Sam.
But I want to make another run at making Captain America an official military position.
My guess is Sam refuses and then goes off the grid, which is why he is arrested later in the trailer. But more importantly, Ross and Sam have both had their
Of
own
course he
struggles with
is,
their own
bro.
identity. Sam
He
spent
stayed
6
trying
episodes
to-
grappling with the idea of a black man becoming Captain America,
The rest of the Avengers.
Complicated.
while Ross was always torn between, being a father and a soldier. And now he's being torn between being president and being Red Hulk. Here we see a shot of Joaquin juxtaposed with a scary chair in a dingy lab. This is probably where Isaiah and the others are brainwashed, like I said earlier. And this is the same
That
lab
song
where
is
Sam
crazy.
and the others are arrested outside. So this is very interesting. It makes me think maybe this isn't just Samuel Stearns' lab. This could be a government conspiracy. Samuel Stearns, like
Hydra,
Hydra,
bruh.
could have been running
Hydra's
his own
back.
sub-government agency with the intention of turning the president into the Hulk and seizing control of the nation in order to create his
Brave New World.
Exactly. And check out this missile. It looks like it's running on Tony Stark's repulsor technology. Maybe other nations around the world have gained access to Tony Stark's tech. Or this could be an American missile after the government seized Stark tech in the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. Either way, it
They gonna
detonates
be
before hitting the
having
ship.
crazy
Then we see a
fucking
shot of Sam
fights
falling.
and
So maybe
wars.
he used his vibranium suit to shield the ship from this blast. This whole third act of the movie could show Sam trying to avert World War III. Now later we see him use the shield to detonate missiles and then to protect his face as he flies forward. Remember, his
That's
wings and
tough.
suit came from Wakanda, so they're probably made of vibranium so they can withstand this kind of explosion. Now, here is another shot of the leader's lab with his crazy villain newspaper clipping reading, "Reset Ross, Reset America." Again, I think his goal is to show the world that the president has become a freaky gamma monster so he can destabilize the nation. Like, guys, I am so pumped for this villain. He's one of, like, the top tier villains from the comics, and I love
Nah,
how
for
they're
real,
reinventing
bruh.
him
That shit
as
looks
the
so
70s
good.
conspiracy thriller mastermind. Now, this is interesting. These status boards behind Ross read Cap status, which would imply that Sam is indeed working for the government, or at least they're keeping tabs on him without his knowledge. But this acronym STA could stand for scheduled time of arrival, which implies that Sam is indeed working for the government because he's operating on a schedule. Anyways, it's pretty cool that they not only
Nah, it
recruited
looks
Sam
more
Wilson,
like
but they had enough time
stations.
to mock up a cool board like this. Ross says,
I don't want a variable out there that I can't control.
now here, I'm not sure if he's talking about Sam or himself. How can
About
he trust
Cap.
himself to not turn into the
Damn.
Hulk again? And then we get 3 quick action shots here. Sabra, Sam throwing the shield, and then more shots of Sam flying around Tiamat. And God, I am really glad they're finally following up on Tiamat. Up until now, the only
Right.
other mention of it in the MCU was the small headline in the show She-Hulk. And then we get a really good look at Giancarlo Esposito's character, the villain Sidewinder. So in the comics, he's the leader of the Serpent Society, a snake-themed terrorist group that Steve Rogers fights over the years. I've always thought of him as kind of a goofball villain, and it seems like they're taking him a lot more seriously in this film. And did you guys catch this? President Ross himself punches one of his would-be assassins, reminiscent to the last time Harrison Ford played a president and punched Gary Oldman in the face.
Get off my plane.
I also want to shout out the sound design in this Tracing.
You
you like to play dress up and blindly execute the state's orders.
I love how all these background sounds slowly fill in the soundscape and then take it over. It's this cacophony of voices in your head telling you what to do. You know, like the brainwashing we saw earlier in the trailer. Or this could simply be different people talking over radio waves at once, confusing the narrative about what is actually going on. Either way, it's unsettling, just like a 70s conspiracy thriller. And then, Red Hulk. Now notice that when Ross transforms at this press conference that his hand burns the carpet. This is because as the Red Hulk gets angrier, he also gets hotter, like Sofia Vergara. Red Hulk smashes through the White House, and I wonder if the film is actually going to address the irony here, that Ross hunted Banner and insisted that Banner should have been a weapon to be used by the United States government. So does that now mean that Ross has to submit himself to being a living weapon? When he fights Sam, he does a barrel roll to slice this car in half, and you gotta love that Wakandan tech. Speaking of Wakandan tech, I am wondering where Wakanda is in all of this. Now we know that the previous administration wanted to undermine Wakanda and create regime change.
They staying out of it most
Sam is
likely.
going to realize that the world governments can't be trusted to protect the Earth, and that he will need to form a new team of Avengers. And this will be the core team that faces Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday. So let me know who you think the next 6
start
Avengers
recruiting
should be.
in the
She-Hulk,
end
Shang-Chi,
credit.
Black Panther, Sam, and yeah, I can't think of the other two.
So I think this movie looks pretty awesome. There have been lots of rumors about bad test screenings and massive reshoots, but damn, what they have on screen here looks incredible. And just a reminder, everyone, to take the hassle out of eating healthy, give Factor a try. Head to Factor75.com and use my promo code 50ScreenCrush to get 50% off.
Is that gonna be it?
Free shipping. Guide. I'm Ryan Airy.
Yeah. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Listen.